1. That's not bad. If I call here, there's a chance I can eliminate an excellent player, which brings me to the clincher. Bruce may want to eliminate Harmony as well. He may be willing to check this hand down all the way to the river. Checking it down occurs when one player is all in and the other players check on the flop, the turn, and the river rather than trying to bet each other out of the pot. Because tournament payouts are the most lucrative in the top few positions, it's sometimes best to check it down and try to bust out the all-in player rather than try to win the most chips. The odds are better that Harmony will get busted out if there are 2 hands against her rather than 1.
Call. Phil Gordon's called here. Almost $1 million pot before the flop. Flop is Jack, 4 deuce, 3 different suits.
I check.
Bruce checks it.
All right, it looks like checking it down's a plan.
Phil checks. A queen of diamonds on the turn.
I check.
I gotta warn you here, it's absolutely illegal to talk about or otherwise suggest checking it down. That would be collusion and that's cheating. But if we both decide independently on our own to check, with no discussion, we're not breaking any rules. We're just playing good poker.
Phil checks. Last card is a 7.
I check. All right.
Phil checks. Eights over here for Harmony. Ace King.
Harmony's 8 beat my Ace King. Come on, Bruce.
2 tens win the pot. And Harmony Jensen is eliminated in 4th place.
French line, gentlemen.
And Bruce wins the pot. Chip leader.
By checking it down, Bruce and I eliminated an excellent player and guaranteed ourselves at least a 3rd place finish. We also just locked up another $85,000 in prize money. Sometimes in a tournament, it's worth losing the battle to win the war. Stealing the blinds is a crucial element to my success in tournaments. The great part about stealing the blinds is that when it works, there are no bad beats, no big suckouts, and no big decisions to make. If I never see the river card, I can never take a bad beat. Here's some strategy that you can use when stealing the blinds. Make sure that you target players with average stacks, not the big stacks or the small stacks. Average stacks can afford to fold. The big stacks are likely to call because they can afford to take risks. Small stacks are likely to call because they're desperate and they can't afford to wait for great hands. Target the average stacks in your steal attempts. We're down to 3 players and I'm the short stack. It's time to switch gears, steal some blinds, and stay aggressive.
All right, we are back with a $4,000 ante, 15 and 30,000. Bruce is the chip leader. First act.
I bet 100,000.
He makes it 100,000, a raise of 70,000.
Here comes Bruce charging out of the gate. He's probably trying to steal the blinds, and even though I'm not happy about it, I think he's making a good play.
Christopherson passes.
When I get down to shorthanded play, the value of pairs and high cards go way up. The value of drawing hands goes way down. I believe my pair of 9s is the best hand at the table right now. But if the flop comes with any cards higher than my medium pair, I'm going to be faced with very difficult decisions. I don't like to make difficult decisions, especially when I'm out of position. So, I'm going to be selectively aggressive and put an end to the decisions I have to make on this hand.
I'm all in.
Phil Gordon moves all in.
How much does he answer, Julie, please? 486 more.
486. 486,000 more.
Remember the gap concept? You need a better hand to call a raise with than you do to raise with. It sure is nice to be on the raising side of the gap, isn't it? What's great about this all-in raise is that there's some hands that Bruce will have a good chance of winning with that'll actually fold. He might have ace-jack, ace-10, ace-queen, and fold because he fears being dominated.
I fold.
No call.
First I got to get rid of Jesus down there.
Not even a tough guy like Bruce dares to cross the gap.
Sometimes you want to advertise your bluff. It makes your opponents second-guess themselves. It drives them crazy. But mostly, you're setting them up for later. Learn from the pros at FullTiltPoker.com.
To be a winning poker player, you must be able to bluff effectively. Effectively is a key word here because thanks to movies and edited versions of tournaments, many novice players believe that professionals bluff too much or more frequently than they actually do. The difference between the expert and the novice is that the expert is very selective about the table conditions when they consider bluffing. Here are some factors that I think about when deciding whether or not to bluff. My opponent believes that I'm playing tight. My opponent has a witness to bluff from me recently. My opponent's not likely to have a great hand or a great draw. My hand can't win without a bet. My opponent isn't anywhere near pot committed. And my opponent is likely to think that that last card helped me. Being able to bluff effectively is a part of selective aggression. Pick your spots carefully and then play them aggressively.
4,000, 15, and 3. Ferguson's first act. He calls for 30,000.
Interesting. Chris went in and Bruce is still to act. I'm happy to see a cheap flop for half the big blind with this hand, though.
Still calls.
Okay, let's see a flop.
Bruce calls. He puts up the first 3 cards. 9, 4, 4 with 2 hearts.
Remember, first to the pot wins? This is a great flop for me to bluff at. I'm being selective.
So that's 100,000.
And I'm being aggressive. Because this flop has 2 hearts, Chris and Bruce would expect me to make a bet of this size if I had a 9 or a 4. Remember what I said about board texture? In this case, my opponents know that I got to see the flop cheaply, so it's plausible to them that I'm holding some low cards that connected with the board. This is a great spot to launch a bluff at the pot by being first to bet.
Bruce passes.
All right, 1 down, 1 to go. Come on, Chris, hold your hand, hold your hand. If Chris raises me, I'm finished with this hand.
No call. So Gordon wins the pot.
All right. That felt good. By having the guts to act on favorable circumstances, I was first to the pot, and I won a hefty chunk of change for my bluff.
Still Gordon first to act.
I folded king.